From Tatlock Field in Summit, TV3 Sports presents high school lacrosse. This afternoon, it's the state championship between the Columbia Cougars and the Summit Hilltoppers. Hi, everyone. I'm Matt Lachlan. With me this afternoon, Homer Robinson. Homer, we couldn't have picked a better day. Temperatures are in the 80s. Slight breeze blowing, beautiful day for lacrosse, and we couldn't have picked a better matchup, Summit and Columbia.
Anytime you have a number 1 and 2 matchup, Matt, you're going to have one heck of a ball game, and I think that's what we got going here this afternoon.
You saw these two teams when they played in the coaches' final, which just a couple of weeks ago. Your thoughts?
I thought it was one of the finest games we've seen in lacrosse around the state in quite some time. I thought that there were two fine teams. The stick handling was superb. The kids did very well under pressure.
It seems as if Columbia always has an outstanding scorer. This year's no exception. Dave Sherwood has a fistful of goals.
Right. With 50 goals for the season, there are a lot of people comparing him with Bob Bianchi a couple of years ago from Columbia, now playing for the Naval Academy.
He is an outstanding performer. He'll be going on to Loyola in Maryland to continue his collegiate career. This is his last high school game. I'm sure he wants to go out with a bang. Meanwhile, Summit has a very fine scorer in Ray Stoughton.
Yes, and he fits the mold of Owen Dunn, who played for Summit a couple of years ago. Both of these kids are reminiscing of fine ball players of the past tradition.
Now, this game has developed into quite a rivalry, Summit and Columbia. Still maybe not the Columbia-Montclair rivalry, but the rivalry's there, and it is continuing to grow. What do you think the coaches are telling their clubs right now as they're in the locker room?
Well, it's going to be something ball game. It's come to play. That's the big thing. It's the last ball game. Columbia's got a lot of reasons to want to win this game. Summit, new team on the block, figuring that they can handle him. And we'll see. A few more minutes.
We're expecting an overflow crowd here at Tatlock Field. We'll have the start right after this, so stay with us.
Toothaches are a frustrating and irritating problem, not only for the patient, but sometimes for the physician, too.
Happened to me.
Stick around.
With Dr. James Freeze.
Toothaches are usually caused by an enlarging cavity or by a gum infection.
In Summit, home of the Summit Hilltoppers, also the site for this, the 1983 New Jersey State Interscholastic Athletic Association Lacrosse Championship. There you see, bunched to the right of your screen, the Summit Hilltoppers, and in the middle of the field, now shaking hands with each other, the co-captains, tri-captains of the teams, and the officials for today's game. Let's introduce the starting lineups. We'll begin first with the Columbia Cougars. In the attack positions, it'll be Dave Sherwood, Brian Malnack, and Mike Fiore. At midfield, Ken Wenzel, Chris Badwini, and Jim Nelson. And the defenders, Mark DeSico, John Janowski, and Pat Tevlin. As we look at the Columbia Cougars, gentleman with the 12, with his back to your screen, is their senior goalie, Mike Tevlin. And now for the Summit Hilltoppers. In the attack position, Bill Garrett, Brian Malnack, and Ray Stoughton. The midfielders will be Peter Donat, Matt Holman, and Scott Martin. In the defense positions, Devin Arkeson, John Angelo, Ed Sondy. And in goal for them, as they huddle around their head coach, Bruce DeMeo. There he is with his back to your screen, number 34, James Dunn. 3-year starter at goal, Homer.
Yes, the pressure shouldn't be too hard on him since he's been here before. He was there when he won the state championship in 1981 on the undefeated ball club.
The officials for today's game, the referee is Mike Corcoran. The umpire, Phil DiDomenico. The timer is Barry Rosenberg, and the field judge, John Gorman. Large crowd on hand here for this game. As we mentioned in our open, these two teams faced each other just a short while ago, Homer, in the Coaches Championship. It was a game in which Columbia had an 8-6 lead in a back-and-forth game. It was a situation where a team would go up 1-0, be tied 1-1, 2-1, 2-2. Eventually, Columbia takes an 8-6 lead, but 4 consecutive goals scored by the Summit Hilltoppers gives them the championship 10-8.
That's the kind of game the crowd loves to see, and I was one of the spectators there, and I really enjoyed it. It was fantastic.
That was the preliminary game to the NCAA championship game, which Syracuse came from behind to defeat Johns Hopkins. As we take a look at some of the crowd here this afternoon on just a gorgeous day, I think we have to go back into the record books to find out, at least if the weather forecast holds up, when we've had a weekend where both days are predicted to be sunny.
Very true, man.
crowd's ready. You hear them in the background. The teams, and speaking with the coaches and some of the players before the game, are also ready. There will be a new player facing off for Summit. It will be Al Stith, number 35. But as soon as the second whistle is blown, there's Al. He will come off the field and be replaced by one of the midfielders that we mentioned. But he takes most of the face-offs for Bruce DeMayo's squad.
Number 10, Ken Wenzel for Columbia, is one of the best face-off men in the state.
And the whistle blows. 4 10-minute quarters ahead of us, and Ken Wenzel picks it up at midfield. And he is crunched, but is picked up by Mark DeSico near the sideline. And a whistle as DeSico goes over the sideline. It will be Summit ball.
Okay, here we'll find out what's going on real quickly. Summit with their potent offense. Matt Holman, one of the top midfielders in the state, also carrying the ball from at the whistle. Number 32.
He's being watched by Chris Badwini as we get the whistle. You mentioned Homer in the coaches' final. It seemed that every time Summit got the ball in offense, they scored.
Right, and they gave it to this young man right here.
The shot and a goal! As the Summit Hilltoppers jump on top just 20 seconds into the game.
Here we go with Matt Holman, number 32, with a run by Dodge. Forces his man hard, puts both hands on the sticks, fires it down low, bounces up inside the cage. Scores 1-0.
For Holman, his 27th goal of the year. He's the third leading goal scorer, fourth leading scorer overall on this Summit team. And it's a 1-0 lead. You wonder what kind of an effect that has to have. Columbia was ready, but right off the bat, they're scored against.
Brings them back down and found out that it's not going to be easy if they're going to come back.
Well, here come the Cougars on the attack. Badwini's pass goes past Dave Sherwood across the far sideline. Summit will be in possession. John Angelo with the long stick, number 42, will put things into play. Looks to break things out, but instead passes back to James Dunn, his goalie. Dunn, number 34, as we mentioned, a 3-year starter. 2 years ago, this team had a great year. The Summit Hilltoppers won both the coaches and the state championship. And he was the sophomore starter there as Arkinson breaks it out. Now goes to Sandy. Up the wing it goes. This is Peter Donat. He's hit by DeSico. Ball on the ground, but Donat comes up with it. Watched by Badwini, flips it back to Sandy.
Summit stick handler is looking very good. Haven't dropped the pass yet.
Bill Garrett holds up, brings it to the edge of the box.
He's going to hold the ball out, set things up now. They've been moving at a very fast pace because everybody was a little nervous, but right now they're going to set up with another run by Dodge.
Garrett watched by Tevlin, now breaks in, flips, it's blocked by DeSico and picked up by Mike Tevlin. The Tevlin brothers, Mike and Pat, starting for Columbia. Sandy intercepts the pass, knocks it to Arkeson. Here comes Devin Arkeson. Summit looking very sharp in the opening moments. Pass inside. A shot not stopped nicely by Tevlin as Ray Stoughton was in alone, but Mike Tevlin made the fine stop. Fast-paced action here. First quarter, 8:09 left to play. Nice play from behind by Mike Krupka. Here's Ray Stoughton. Goes to Bill Garrett.
Unsettled situation.
Things settle down just a little bit now as Matt Holman has it just outside the box.
Holman wants to give the ball off to someone else. Or he's getting ready to set up a one-on-one Dodge. He waved to one of his teammates to come get the ball.
Chris Badwini watching Matt Holman. Holman still with it. Looks to feed it off and does to Mike Krupka. Krupa hit by Janowski, still maintains possession. Passed out in front, but knocked away nicely by Badwini. And here's a break now for the Columbia Cougars. 3-on-2. And a goal. Dave Sherwood with the feed from Mike Fiore ties it up at 1.
Okay, Columbia came down on a fast break, 3-on-2. The pass was laid off to the left. Dave Sherwood, All-American attackman, fires the pass to goalie into the net. This is one young man they're going to have to stop if Summit's going to win the ball game. Number 16, Dave Sherwood from Columbia.
His 51st goal of the year. Fiore with the assist, and we are tied at 1. That goal coming at 7:18 of the first period.
Matt, if this is any indication of what's going to be in the rest of the ball game, we got one heck of a ball game going on.
There's been excitement right from the start, and we have played less than 3 minutes. Here comes the Cougars. This is Tim Francis. Francis, an outstanding football player. Now gets to Brian Malnack. Malnack behind the net, goes to Fiore. Fiore assisted on that first goal. Fiore watched by John Angelo.
Good defensive positioning by number 42, D'Angelo.
Here's Sherwood, who is crunched right behind the goal, and the ball comes loose, picked up by Summit.
Pitch clear, coming down again on unsettled situation, number 12.
Dan Ambrose waits for his teammates to set things up. Adam Rubin watching him now as he passes the ball behind the net.
Summit's trying to set something up from behind the cage, looking for a feed, and the cutter's coming through our play out in the midfield.
This is Ray Stoughton with it, watched by DeSico.
The head of play didn't work. They're going to bring it back out. Try something else.
This is Steve Bradle. Summit 15-2 coming into this game. Columbia 15-1. Columbia's only blemish to this Summit team. Here's a break, a shot, and a goal. Bounced it past Mike Tevlin.
Excellent roll dodge.
Scott Chisholm with the goal, and it is 2-1.
Okay, here's Scott Chisholm, number 22, with an excellent roll dodge to his left. Good composure. Changes back to his right hand, fires it low on the ground, and is into the cage.
Receiving the congratulations from his teammates on the sideline, and it's a 2-1 Summit lead.
For you young fans out there, that was called a roll dodge, or sometimes called a spin dodge. You find that is very effective when the man is overplaying you hard to one side.
Off the face, this is Scott Martin. Tries to flip it ahead, but it'll be picked up by a Columbia Cougar.
Summer stick handling starting to fall apart now. The ball's on the ground quite a bit. They're not hooking up with their passes 2 and 3 in a row like they were doing early in the ball game.
Pass by Malnack goes awry, but from the outside, shot blocked. Nelson's shot was blocked by Holman. There's Nelson with it again. Goes to Ken Wenzel. Open shot. Almost goes in. It fooled Dunn. He blocked it partially. It scooted to the side of the net, but it was picked up and cleared by Ed Sandy. Sandy across the midfield stripe. Plays it off to Mike Krupa. Krupka with it. Watched by Pat Tevlin. Plays it behind the net to Stoughton. Stoughton watched by DeSico. Puts the fake on. Comes in front. Shot is blocked.
Excellent save by the goalie, number 12, Mike Tevlin.
Loose ball.
He stuffed him with a stick high. He knew he was coming with that shot high because it was in close.
Picked up off the ground by Scott Martin. Martin on a break. A penalty is called. And Columbia will be short-handed here, Homer.
All right, it's the first man-up situation for Summit. Okay, here he comes around the cage. Starts to roll back in the face. See, that's check right in the face. Again, that's against the rules. And he's going to have to pay the penalty for that by spending 1 minute in the penalty box.
So an advantage for the Summit Hilltoppers.
Okay, we have Summit 1 man up, Summit and Columbia playing 1 man short.
Go ahead, Homer, I'm sorry.
Okay, they're going to try to move the ball around the field, try and find the open man. There's an extra man in there, and usually Summit's going to counter with their best stick handling middies and attacking.
During the course of the year, Summit scored 27 times in 52 attempts when they were a man up.
And that's a very good percentage.
Here's Mark Felix. In front, blocked by one of the defenders for Columbia. Bounces across the far sideline.
And the ball goes over to Columbia. In this situation, when the ball goes out of bounds on a shot, the team that's closest to the ball when it goes out of bounds gets possession. Since Columbia was there first, the ball goes over to them. Now, Summit's going to employ here a on ride. Everybody's going to pick up a man. They're going to try to pressure him into making him throw the ball away.
4:38 left to play in the first quarter. 2-1 Summit lead in the 1983 State Lacrosse Championship from Tatlock Field in Summit. Long clear, this is Sherwood, and he's dangerous.
The man is released from the penalty area. Excellent save by the goalie, number 34, James Dunn.
Dunn came up big, but Columbia still with it. Malnack in front, and Sherwood fanned on the shot. We have a whistle called here.
A hit from behind was the call by Phil DiDomenico. The ball goes over to Summit. I think there was no possession.
Summit with the 2-1 lead. As you were saying, Homer, no possession, so there's no
Then the ball goes to the
penalty.
team.
Well, Summit will be assessed a
I'm
penalty.
sorry. There was a penalty there. They can pick it up on that.
So let's see what Columbia can do with the man-up situation with 4:13 left to play. In front, but Badwini couldn't handle it. Here's Nelson, watched by Arkeson. Badwini plays it in front, bounces toward the sideline, goes across.
Ball goes over to Summit. Columbia's man-up team looked a little disorganized at that time. They weren't able to take advantage of the man-up situation there.
Crowd still coming here to Tatlock Field. This is Dan Ambrose who will put it into play. Ambrose tries to squeeze between two men. Can't do it, and it will be Columbia ball.
The momentum has changed, Matt, in this ball game. Right now, I think Columbia has the momentum going for them. They're staying on the offensive end of the field, which is a key to that statement I just made. You stay on offense, chances are you're going to score very shortly.
One thing we haven't talked about, Homer, is the fact that on a day such as this, with the high temperatures, depth may become a factor.
Yes, it may be, man. And I think that Columbia has the deeper team.
Sherwood goes behind the net to Malnack, but he can't hold on to it, so Summit will have it.
Okay, poor stick handling at this time by Columbia made them lose the ball, and the ball goes over to Summit.
Looked like Malnack just took his eye off of it.
And that'll happen many times. He had his eyes going on for the next move instead of making sure he hit the first one.
3:34 showing on the clock. This is Devin Arkeson, watched by Sherwood. He'll use the net as a screen to try to come out. Arkeson gets away from Sherwood.
Arkeson, one of the top defensemen in the state.
Here's Dan Ambrose, and now Matt Holman.
Okay, look for a one-on-one situation here, an isolation out in the midfield.
Holman scored the game's first goal to give Summit a 1-0 lead. Scott Chisholm, he also has a goal.
Holman, being the team player he is, gave the ball off. He's got good wheels. He's a key to the last ball game against Columbia down at Rutgers.
Summit not rushing things. The Hilltoppers don't seem to feel as if they have to rush things. They're not panicking when something doesn't develop. They're waiting for things to develop. Here's a shot and a nice save made by Mike Tevlin.
Holman tried to come up with a left-hand shot, which is fairly good for a right-handed ball player.
Malnack.
Good checking by number 48, Malnack.
Ed Sondy watching Malnack. He still has it. Plays it in front. Shot goes high over the net, but it's behind the net and is picked up there by Nelson. Shot, and it hit the side of the net. The fans on the Columbia side reacting, but it hit the side of the net. It was not a goal.
Excellent roll dodge.
And a nice clear by James Dunn. Chisholm plays it nicely to Stoughton. Stoughton in front loses it on a nice check. And we get a whistle. It'll be Columbia's ball.
Okay, here he comes down to the left side of the cage. He changes back to the right-hand side, but he loses the ball. A below-the-knees penalty. Cannot hit below the knees.
Columbia has it.
Oh.
So I don't believe a penalty is called.
I'm sorry, that was a mistake on my part. It looked like on the replay that he was below the knees.
Dangerous play in front. Rich Bianchi with it. Bianchi has not seen much action this year. Was hurt near the tail end of the wrestling year, and you can see him operating with a knee bandage on his left knee. Low shot and a goal.
Excellent shot by Dave Sherwood, number 16.
His second goal. And we are tied once again at 2 apiece.
Here comes Dave Sherwood again, coming down the left side of the cage. To feed to Dave Sherwood, excuse me. He fires him very low on the ground and didn't bounce up. Hugged the ground all the way through to the goal.
So Sherwood scores his 52nd goal of the year, second of the game, ties us up at 2. And that comes with 1:35 left to play here in the first quarter.
Just as important, Matt, in this game is the person who threw the ball to the guy who scored the goal. That's called an assist. And many times in lacrosse, that determines whether your team is really playing together or not. Are they looking for the people who are open and not being selfish, trying to score by themselves? Also in lacrosse, you get just as many points for an assist as you do for a goal.
James Dunn still has it, calling out a play, and he'll wait for his team to set things up. Well, he says, I'll take it myself. Up near midfield, nice flip ahead. This is John Angelo. Bill Garrett.
Situation.
Garrett with it, a shot, and here's a goal. Homer, this seems as if it's a repeat of the coaches' final. It seems every time Summit can bring the ball into the offensive end, they seem to get a good shot. There have been some nice saves by Tevlin, but they've been very effective when they're on the offense.
Here we come down. Number 42 lays the ball off to the right. Brings the ball in, a nice spin dodge. Goes left-handed, fires it low, bounces up inside the cage.
And
the crowd is really enjoying this, Matt.
Why not? It has been a thriller so far, and we are still in the first quarter. It seems as if Tevlin's having problems with the bouncing balls. That's where Summit is directing its shots. At the ground, looking for the bounce. This is Rich Bianchi.
Some goals are good on those low shots, and some are good up high. And they're an excellent goalers are good both ways.
Shot skips low and to the right of the goal. Summit will be in possession with just 36 seconds to go in the first quarter. After the coaches' final, Homer, Bob Curcio was quoted as saying that he'd give 10 years off his life to play this game again. And I asked him about that quote during the week, and he was laughing. He said, well, no, he goes, no, I was misquoted. I'd only maybe give 3, he said. Well, he's got his replay. His team's down, though, by a goal, 3-2.
All right. And if you ask him right now, I don't think he's ready to give up any right now.
This is Holman, watched by DeSico. Has it knocked away, but it's picked up by Angelo, and he flips it into the offensive end. Nelson slips and falls on the turf. And now Matt Holman has it. 10 seconds left. Gets a quick shot off. Bounces off the shoulder of Mike Tevlin. And we get a whistle.
The ball stays with Summit. I think Matt could have taken that one a little closer.
I think he saw how much time was left.
6 seconds still left on the clock. He had
more
more
quick
time
shot
to
off. I think he did too. DeSico picks up and sends it way downfield as the whistle blows to end the first quarter. And an exciting first quarter of action it is. A 3-2 advantage for the Summit Hilltoppers. We'll take a break. We'll come back with the second quarter, so stay with us. So Columbia will be going right to left in their white and red uniforms. This is Dave Sherwood. Sandwich now is Chris Badwini. Ball on the ground picked up by Devin Arkeson. Arkeson breaks across.
Arkeson again, one of the fine defensemen in the state. Got good size, number 41, Summit.
Dan Ambrose settles things down, waits for his team to set up.
Have a one-on-one situation here.
Watched by Jim Nelson, the shot low, and it sneaks in behind Mike Tevlin. He came up with the stop, could not halt its momentum, though, and he just dribbled behind him and in.
Somebody else keep that
in? No. 9:13 still to play. Here's a look at it again.
Okay, here comes number 12, Dan Ambrose. Runs by hard on his left, fires the shot low on the ground. He tips off the end of the goalie's stick, Mike Tevlin, and dribbles into the net.
Well, that makes it 4-2. And that's the first time that a team has been able to go up 2 goals in today's game. It's been a back-and-forth affair, the largest margin being a goal, but now Summit operating with a 2-goal lead.
Mike can hate himself for that. He was there, but it just didn't roll up into his stick like he had planned it to.
Here's Scott Martin with the break. Flips it ahead for Bill Garrett, but he was sandwiched,
right,
and he's shaken up.
Someone giving him his lunch up on the field, number 38, Summit. And again, was nothing dirty about that. It was a legal hit, which you can do in lacrosse.
And
as long as it's above the knees and not from the back like in football, it's a legal hit.
Well, many football players do play the sport. The coaches, all football coaches, seem to feel it's the perfect complement for a football player to play this sport in the spring. It goes very well with football.
Very good point, and they have quite a few football players on Summit's team.
He appears to be all right as he's run off the field by head coach Bruce DeMeo. I'm sure he'll catch his breath on the bench and be ready for action later on today. Columbia in possession. Mike Tevlin, the goalie, has it behind the net. And Homer, for those who do not see much lacrosse, this is not unusual for the goaltender to handle the ball as frequently as he does.
Most teams would like to bring their goalie to handle the ball in a full field clear.
It has happened right there as Adam Rubin has it.
He's usually a quarterback on defense.
Mike Fiore passes to Sherwood. Sherwood tries to use the net as a screen. Now a shot and a save made by Dunn in front. Malnack has it, and he puts it in. No goal off. They're waving it off. I think they're saying he was in the circle.
Right, and that's the call. That's an illegal play. You cannot go inside. Okay.
Here it is.
Here we go with Sherwood passing behind the cage, standing in front. He stepped inside the crease, which you cannot do. An offensive player cannot go inside the crease. And that's why the goal was not counted.
So Summit has the long clear by Arkeson, actually looking for the pass to Garrett. Holman tries to scoop it in, and a nice save by Holman. Here comes Mike Krupka, and Krupka is hit from behind. And he loses possession as Tim Francis runs into Mike Krupka. 8:14 to play in the second quarter. Matt Lachlan along with Homer Robinson. We're at Tatlock Field. Large crowd on hand for the 1983 State Lacrosse Championship. At halftime, we'll be speaking with athletic director at Summit High School, also the tournament director of the Lacrosse Championships, Howie Anderson. Here comes Mike Tevlin. Pass it ahead, but throws it right to a Summit performer, Peter Donat. Donat has it. Here's Mark Felix. Felix getting some instruction from Bruce DeMeo.
There's been very little half-field offense going on, Matt. Most of the teams seem to be, most of the goals have been scored in an unsettled situation, quick moves of that nature. Right now, here we go, one-on-one, again, number 25. Except this time he passes it off, looking to hit the open man.
Garrett picks it up and is run into by Pat Tevlin.
And the ball stays with Summit. He almost had to pay the price for that hit there because of the poor scoop there. And they gave the player from Columbia the chance to go over there to knock him down.
First
make him lose sight of the ball.
Excuse me, Homer. First midfield group comes back on for Columbia. Ken Wenzel, Chris Badwini, and Jim Nelson. As Tim Francis, Rich Bianchi, and Adam Rubin take a seat on the bench.
Okay, here we have an isolation from behind the cage.
This is Bill Garrett in front, puts it low. Goes across the sideline, but it will be Summit still in possession as Mike Krupka won the race and was the nearest man to it as it went across the sideline.
And that is why the race for the ball, because the closest person on a shot to the ball belongs to them.
This is Krupka, watched by John Janowski. 4-2 Summit lead. Shot goes off the side of the net, skips across. Summit still has it.
Cooper needed a couple more steps around the front of the cage to get that shot into the cage, Matt. He had really no angle, and that's why the ball went across the cage.
6:55 to play as we look on the sideline at one of the Summit assistants, and there's the other one joining him. Rob Uzzolino and Steve Hadley.
Usually behind the cage, the Columbia man's going to play his man loose so that he doesn't get lost back there by the attack with number 10.
This is Garrett, slips and falls, and the shot is picked up easily by Mike Tevlin. Don't know if you could even consider that a shot, more as if it slipped out of his stick.
Pitch clear by the goalie to number 47, who's still running.
Janowski, the nice run, hit from behind by Holman, but Columbia maintains possession. And now it's taken away by Ed Sandy. Sandy, one of the captains of this squad. Sandy with the long run to Stoughton. Oh, a beautiful play as Bill Garrett puts it home. Credit Ed Sandy and Ray Stoughton with the pretty passes as Garrett had the open net.
Okay, we have Ed Sandy carrying the ball across the midfield line. The defenseman with the long stick passes off to the left. The open man, net's wide open, and in it goes. Fantastic play by Ed Sandy. The first time we heard from him this afternoon on the offensive end. Fantastic play by the defenseman. He'll love that one for a long time.
And a timeout is called as Bob Curcio wants to talk things over. His club now trails 5-2 with 6 minutes and 20 seconds left to play in the first half. This is a good timeout because he can sense things are starting to fall apart for his club, and he wants to settle them down.
Excellent idea, man. Again, to find a defenseman who can stick handle like that, bring the ball down the field, and look for the open man. And there you found 3 passes in a row without the ball hitting the ground. And usually when that happens, chances are there's going to be a goal scored somewhere very shortly thereafter.
When we saw that replay, Homer, you could see Bill Garrett. He wasn't surprised, but sometimes when you have that net that's wide open in front of you, you overshoot or you get a little nervous, but he took his time and put it right in. As we take a look at the crowd here on hand at Tatlock Field, and they are excited. This is the Summit crowd we're showing. Columbia on the far side of the field, and naturally the Summit fans much more excited at this point than their counterparts from Columbia. There's the Columbia section. It says Tatlock is Cougar land as they try to generate some feel for a home field advantage. Some of the Columbia people were wondering why this game was played here, since it is the home of the Summit Hilltoppers, but quite simply, Howie Anderson's the tournament director. A couple of years ago, when the state was looking for someone to run the tournament, he said, I'll run it at my place. It's been here, it was here last year. It's here again this year, and it just so happens that Summit advanced to the final this year. Last year, Columbia was also here, coming away with the championship.
Very good point, Matt. So Columbia is the defending championship, and they're here to do just that.
Well, it's 5-2. Summit on top, 6:20 left in the first half.
Some of you wondering where the goalie went on that last goal. He had to go out and pick up the extra man because it was a 3-on-2 situation.
This is Ken Wenzel. Wenzel, Badwini, Nelson, the first midfield group out there for Columbia. Sherwood, Malnack, and Fiore, the attackmen. This is Dave Sherwood. Sherwood has the 2 Columbia goals. Goes across the line, and it will be Summit possession. Jim Nelson just couldn't catch up with it.
It's a 3-goal difference here. This game by no means is over. Columbia has too much pride and tradition for this game to be over at this stage. We have a midfield clear set up here for Summit. Number 36 dropped the ball. He wants someone else to take the ball.
And it will be Devin Arkeson. Summit has its first midfield group of Peter Donat, Matt Holman, and Scott Martin on the field.
Usually you want either your goalie or your best stick-handling defenseman to handle the ball on your clears.
And Arkeson with the pretty feed. This is Stoughton. Nice pass to Ed Sandy.
Sandy's looking to give the ball up to one of the midfielders, which he does, to Matt Holman, number 32. Holman's getting instruction from his coach over there before he starts to make up his mind what he's going to do.
You see Bruce DeMayo yelling to him in the background. Holman with a burst of speed has a shot. Save made by Tevlin. Loose out in front. Still on the ground. Just goes wide off the scramble. Finally goes across the line, and whose possession will it be? Columbia's.
Columbia's ball.
Dangerous situation there. Mike Tevlin came up with the initial save on Holman, but then no one seemed to want it, and off the scramble, the ball just scooted wide of the net.
Tevlin couldn't make the save with his stick that time, Matt. He stopped it with his body. Many times, many of the saves are made in lacrosse by the positioning of the goalie, not by his stick all the time. And he was in the right position, but he couldn't control the ball, and that's where the scramble came from.
Columbia's offense has stalled quite a bit here.
Yes, I think the momentum has changed over.
In and out of the crease, you got Summit, Columbia ball.
Once you're in, you can't go. Once you're out, you can't go back in.
Okay, what happened there, wasn't sure, was that the goalie hadn't controlled the ball. And once he takes the ball out of the crease, which is the circle around the goalie, he cannot go back in it with the ball.
Look at this backhand passing goal by Dave Sherwood. Backhand over the head, falling down. Brian Malnack throws it over his shoulder. Sherwood's right there and puts it home.
Okay, here we go with Dave Sherwood, again, number 16 for Columbia, starting from behind the cage. Slips, falls down, flips from over his back, over his shoulder. Fantastic pass. No one was there to pick up the man who Sherwood had fed the ball to, and the goal was scored.
So it's 5-3 as Sherwood picks up his third goal of the day. He has 53 on the year.
Again, that looked like Sherwood had eyes in the back of his head. And where the defenseman who was covering the man he threw the ball to, I don't know. But it really made Sherwood look fantastic. I mean, he is.
Malnack just flipping it over his shoulder, and Sherwood with the alert play.
Got a violation there. The ball was loose, so the ball stays on white.
Ball push against Columbia, Summit ball.
Excuse me, I said white. Columbia, excuse me, Summit's ball. Summit's offense starts out with a lot of isolations, and what they do is try to get in one-on-one situation. Then if your man can beat his man, then he looks for the double team comes and lays the ball off for the assist.
This is Mark Felix. Steve Bradle now with it. Goes to Mike Krupka. It's Mark Baumert out on the field now watching Krupka. Knocked away from Krupka by Baumert and picked up by DeSico. Cleared by Tevlin for Sherwood. Or excuse me, that was Tim Francis. Francis with it. Francis still shoots and scores. Puts it over the shoulder of James Dunn. Tim Francis with the goal, and for Francis, that's his 11th of the year. And now you can hear the Columbia supporters across the field.
All right, here comes Francis down, number 18. Younger brother Jim Francis, who's an All-American lacrosse player for Columbia, fires it just right past James Dunn's shoulder.
So 2 straight goals scored by Columbia.
We have a ball game again. Score is 5-4.
Those goals separated by just 47 seconds. As you said, Homer, this game was far from over when it was 5-2. And Columbia has jumped right back into it just before the half here.
Since there was no possession, the young man from Summit could not cross the line there. So he had to wait till the ball came into the line, over the line, before he could go and get it. This is right there, and the ball goes the other way to Columbia.
Columbia's possession.
Again, you can feel the momentum swaying back and forth. And now the momentum belongs to Columbia. For a while it belonged to Summit.
That timeout that Bob Curcio called after his team was down 5-2 when Garrett scored the 5th goal seems to have done something for the club. Here's Sherwood. He is so dangerous. Shot is blocked, and he is sent flying by John Angelo. Angelo tries to scoop it across and does. It's still loose.
Loose ball.
Donat and Badwini fighting for it. Badwini scoops it off a Summit player, and now Sherwood picks it up. He's double teamed, but it's picked up by Badwini. Here's Ken Wenzel. Wenzel for Sherwood. Low shot goes wide. Columbia still has it.
That's Sherwood's favorite spot over there on that left side there. And he really puts the mustard on top of that shot.
2:45 showing on the clock. Again, Howie Anderson will be our halftime guest in this exciting contest between Summit and Columbia. Malnack goes outside to Francis, who scored the last Columbia goal. Now here's Rich Bianchi. Bianchi passes it back to Francis, who flips it on goal, but Dunn sticks the big stick way up in the air and comes away with it.
That's the kind of pass you like your goalie to make. That pitch clear. Get the fast break going very early.
Here comes Ed Sondy.
This time he's looking to give it off to a midfielder. He does.
Dan Ambrose with it. Ambrose on the field, along with Steve Bradle and Scott Chisholm. Francis watching Ambrose, goes to Garrett.
This young man, Ambrose, number 12 from Summit, is transferred from Chicago. They don't play too much lacrosse out that way. He's only been in the state for the last 2 years.
That shot looked like it deflected off of Teflon. Goes across the far sideline. Summit maintains possessions. The clock stops with 1:47 left.
Even though Summit hit the ball, it was reflecting the Summit man was closer to the ball. That's why it's his ball, not who touched it last.
Ambrose with it. Goes to Scott Chisholm. Here's Ray Stoughton.
Top scorer for Summit, number 15. 47 goals, looking to make it number 48.
Stoughton has an assist on the day, but no goal. Stoughton watched by DeSico. Now goes outside to Ambrose. 1:15 left to play. Summit very deliberate in its attack this time down the field.
Scott Chisholm's trying to start something from behind the cage. The stutter start.
Shot goes off the side of the net. Summit fans are excited, but it went off the side of the net. And Teflon traps it against the cage.
Anytime that illusion happens, Matt, that the ball seems like it goes in the cage, and it looks like that from here many times.
53 seconds remain in the first half.
As you mentioned before, when Bob Curcio called the timeout, the kids must have been really listening, because at that time, ever since then, they've really changed the momentum of the ball game around.
They've scored 2 consecutive goals to narrow the deficit to 1. And as the whistle goes, we are back into play, and the clock rolls. Here's Badwini. Badwini at the midfield stripe, now breaks into his end of the field. Watched by Hallman, we get a whistle.
I thought there was an offsides call there, and the ball still stays with Columbia. It must have been
Clock still rolls, 33 seconds left. So Columbia will set up for what they hope will be one last shot. They don't want to give Summit a chance for an unsettled situation near the end of this first half. There's Malnack.
Haven't heard very much from him this afternoon.
Had that pretty assist, but has been quiet other than that.
Yes.
Here's Jim Nelson.
Which was fabulous.
For Sherwood. Sherwood loses it and is scooped up by Summit.
Good bounce pass to number 41, Arkeson.
Arkeson, though, won't have time to set anything up because the whistle will end things here in the first half. But an exciting first half of play as Columbia and Summit fight it out for the state lacrosse championships. And it is at the end of one half of action. Summit 5, Columbia 4. Howie Anderson and I will have the halftime show for you, so stay with us.
$4:30.
11 o'clock.
6:30. 12 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
7:30.
It's on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. CNN Headline News, the perfect news for your busy schedule.
This is CNN Headline News. You're in tune with the world.
Get the major international and national news headlines immediately. Instant coverage of what's happening around the world. The latest in sports, people, and places. The weather, features. Get the whole world of news in a fast-paced 30 minutes, 24 hours a day. It's immediate, it's complete. The perfect news for your busy schedule. Don't wait until 5, 6, or 7 for the evening news. Get the news instantly. Turn to CNN Headline News. It's on right now.
Our score at halftime, it is the Summit Hilltoppers leading the Columbia Cougars 5-4. We have with us the athletic director and also tournament director for this tournament here at Summit High School, Howie Anderson. Howie, thank you very much for joining us. Objectively, of course, you have your own favorite. You're looking for someone to do well, but objectively, this is a great game for any fan.
It certainly is. It's a great sign of what Lacrosse has done recently, just by the size of the crowd and the enthusiasm.
Tell us a little bit about this tournament. First off, the question that some people are asking is simply, why is Summit playing the championship on its home field?
Well, the site of the game is set a year in advance, and as the director of the tournament, I am perfectly willing to direct it as long as I have some control over where the game is going to be played, the final. In other words, I have to have police protection and the normal personnel to handle the game, and if I were to try to run a final game in Westfield or someplace removed, it would be certainly a lot more difficult for me. So I want to have the control. I try to do the game right with a printed program and a good control, so that I have to have it here. Now, last year, Columbia was also involved in the final. They won it against West Morris, and we were not in it. It just happens that this year we have a fine lacrosse team, and we happen to be one of the finalists.
Well, I don't think Columbia is suffering too much from its lack of a home field advantage or a neutral field, because they're right in this game at 5-4. Tell us what plans there might be in the working for expanding this tournament, making it a little bit better, because it is a fine tournament. Some more teams are coming up into the A-League, and some more teams are adding lacrosse as a sport. What do you see as the future of the sport?
Of course, it's only been 2 years that they have opened the tournament to any team with a 500 record or better. It used to be limited to an 8-team tournament. So unless we lower it to like a 40% winning percentage, which is what the basketball cutoff is, it will probably stay in the 13, 14, 15 team type of tournament. We had 13 teams this year. And because there are a limited number of teams playing lacrosse, you're not going to get more than that usually.
What about the crowd that's on hand today? It's a large crowd. Of course, the weather has something to do with it, but the matchup has mostly to do with this large crowd. It is a great crowd to seeing some good lacrosse.
Oh, it's a great lacrosse game. It's two teams that are well coached and have some fine athletes. And it's the way a tournament should end up, with the #1 team playing the #2 team, and that's all anybody can ask for, is to have the two best matchups playing in the final. Nobody got upset along the way, so it's just the way you always hope it's going to be in the final.
All lacrosse coaches say they feel that the sport is a perfect complement to football, and it's great for the athlete to play it in the spring, prepare himself for the upcoming football season. As a football coach who's involved in lacrosse only in that he runs the tournament, how do you look at lacrosse as a sport in its relation to football?
Well, of course, it is a great compliment. I would say that probably 75% of our kids are football players. It's for kids who like some contact and who like the game, and I think that it's a great compliment to football, and the schools that don't have it are missing something for their football players in the spring.
All right, Howie, the teams are coming back on the field. We want to thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to a good second half of action.
Okay, thanks. My pleasure.
Howie Anderson, the athletic director here at Summit High School, also the tournament director for the State Lacrosse Championship. Homer and I will be back with second half action of this exciting game right after this.
A Woman's Place, where Barbara Friedman invites guests to discuss how they and other women can effectively change their traditional roles into those that will enhance their lives. Watch A Woman's Place, Tuesday at 8 o'clock on TV3.
Sunday, June 19th. Here comes the hottest talent going. It's Dolly in Concert, a musical extravaganza only on HBO and simulcast in FM stereo. Hear Dolly Parton on FM stereo radio. See her Sunday, June 19th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, only on HBO.
Well, we want to thank Howie Anderson for joining us at halftime. Teams have come out of the locker room. They're getting last-minute instruction, Homer, from their respective coaches, Bob Curcio at Columbia and Bruce DeMeo at Summit. One mention we'll make here at the start of the second half. Due to the hot weather, the officials have decided to give an extra timeout in this half to both teams, so both teams will be permitted to call 3 timeouts apiece during the second half.
You know, Matt, this is one of the things that coaches always stress is conditioning, and you'll find out all the hard work, the running, the sweating, and all that is coming. You're going to have to pay off right now. It's a very humid day out here. These teams haven't played in this condition all year long. However, right now it's going to find out who's been shucking off at the end and what have you. Chances are neither one of them have, because of the fact that they both made it to the finals of the championship.
This has been a seesaw affair, and we checked the scoring by quarters through the first half. Summit led at the end of the first quarter 3-2. They jumped out in front 1-0, but Columbia came back, tied it up. They led 2-1, did Summit. Columbia came back and knotted it at 2 before Bill Garrett scored with 55 seconds left to make it 3-2 after 1. In the second quarter, that's a little deceiving because Summit scored the first 2 goals to lead 5-2, but Columbia came back and scored the last 2. And momentum's a very big factor, and you wonder whether Columbia, which had the momentum near the end, can now continue it, considering we had that 10-minute break at halftime.
Very good point, Matt, and we'll see very shortly whether Columbia can sustain their momentum.
It will be Columbia going from left to right as we look at the face-off, and it is won by Columbia as Jim Nelson has it and brings it across midfield. Knocked away from behind nicely by Holman.
Excellent hustle by Holman.
It's still loose. Donat has it, but now Nelson picks it up for Columbia.
The key face-off there, Matt. Start the third quarter with the ball. Looks like Columbia's going to settle it down, work something. If they can score right here, they're going to tie the ball game up.
Ken Wenzel goes to Jim Nelson. Nelson watched by Donat. Here's Sherwood, so dangerous. Behind the cage. Has it knocked away.
Excellent check by number 24, Peter Donat.
Goes across the sideline, and it will be Columbia's possession. Just underway here in the second half. Matt Lachlan and Homer Robinson at Tatlock Field in Summit.
Matt, here also you're going to find out it's easy to, you want to rest, you can rest on offense, but you don't want to rest playing defense. And we're going to find out if the ball stays on the offensive end of the field for which team the longest, and that'll find out who's going to win this ball game. Right now, Columbia is controlling the ball. Summit's got to work very hard to get the ball over the other end of the field. Columbia can afford the rest right now.
Loose ball, and it is picked up by John Angelo. Angelo clears it, but it is picked up on the bad clear by John Janowski. Janowski plays it ahead to Malnack. Knocked away by Sandy. And now bodies flying all over the place. Brian Malnack was hit very heavily. Seems to be shaken up as Dave Sherwood signals to the bench for a replacement to come on. It will be Mike Provenzano, number 31, coming on to replace Brian Malnack. Malnack was crunched.
Excellent hit. It's all part of the game, folks.
There's Provenzano, the senior attackman.
Could the ball's going the other way, I'm sure.
5-4 is our score here in the third quarter. 8:42 left to play. Waiting for the official's whistle to start things. I think the official was simply waiting for the ball. And now he flips it back. And Dan Ambrose has it. Plays it back for James Dunn. Dunn, the senior netminder.
Here's Columbia setting up an off ride. I mean by that a zone type of ride. Okay.
Ambrose.
Playing position instead of playing the man.
Plays it across to Dunn. Dunn up the middle. Finds Arkeson. Arkeson still with it. Double teamed. Has it knocked away by Francis. Loose, and now it is picked up by Mike Krupka.
This is the first time that someone has the ball over the midfield line this half.
8:02 left to play in the third quarter. Here's Ambrose. Shot high, well over the net.
They called that a pass instead of a shot. That's why the ball's going the other way. there had been a shot, Summit was closest to the ball, it would have stayed their ball. But however, the officials saw it the other way. It was a pass.
Bruce DeMeo is complaining about the call, but it will be Columbia in possession. There's Bruce DeMeo, 7th year as head coach here at Summit High School.
Here again, Summit is using an off ride, or sometimes called a zone ride.
Mark DeSico plays it back for Mike Tevlin. Tevlin lofts a pass for Wenzel. Wenzel across midfield. Still with it, watched by Ambrose. Here's Dave Sherwood behind the cage. Sherwood the pass, the low shot just goes wide. Columbia will maintain possession. Jim Nelson with the bullet. Excuse me, Homer.
Sherwood set up that play with a dodge to his left and come back to his right, then looking to feed the ball into the midfield. He found his midfielder on the wing, and he fired it past the goalie, but it wasn't on cage. And the ball stays with Columbia, since they were closest to the ball when the ball went out of bounds. We had a change in the midfield at the same time, waiting for the ball to go in action.
Mike Fiore, a little flip, stopped by Dunn, picked up by Sherwood. Out in front, here's Wenzel with the low shot that goes wide. Columbia still has it.
Now, also, let's figure out something here that's going on, is that Columbia's getting their shots on cage, and they keep on firing that ball like they eventually one's got to come through there. The law average just says so.
Well, here's Sherwood.
Robinson.
Sherwood with it. Low shot just goes wide, and that did not miss by much.
That Sherwood really has a shot, and he really finds the corners. If he'd have caught that, it would have been a lower left-hand corner.
And that did not miss by much, as I said at all. Columbia with the much better of play here the start of the second half. We were in the third quarter with 6:54 to play. 5-4 advantage for Summit. Bad pass, knocked clear by Summit and picked up by Holman. Holman, if he hustles, will have a break.
In a fast break situation, lays it off to the point man. Found nothing.
Krupka now goes to Donat, back to Holman. The low shot blocked by a defender.
And that happens many times. Many times a defender will be in the way of a shot, and he has no choice but to block it himself. Not that he wants to, or be a He-Man or a Superman.
That was Pat Tevlin who knocked it away, and on the far side, Tevlin's just working his left leg.
Holman was setting up a few little things for next time around. The next time that kid see him line up, he'll duck and get out of the way for that shot.
There's Pat Tevlin. He'll put play into action with 6:26 to go. Tim Francis. Across the midfield stripe, Francis waiting for his team to set a play up. Shot well high by Sherwood. However, the nearest man was Mike Fiore.
From Columbia. And you can say that was very much like the pass before, but the difference was that the officials saw that this guy was trying to throw it out on cage. The other one, when he had an idea that he was going over, he was trying to throw the ball to someone else. And that's why the ball stayed this way.
Scott Chisholm, Steve Bradle, Dan Ambrose, second midfield group comes on for Summit as Bruce DeMeo making a lot of changes at midfield in this hot weather. Low shot goes wide by Sherwood. And who has it? Columbia does.
Columbia's getting their shots on cage as compared to what Summit was getting.
This third quarter has been all the Columbia Cougars. However, they have been unable to dent the net, and they still trail 5-4.
And this is what Columbia has to do. They want to get those shots on cage, and the ball is taken away.
Ed Sonde with the beautiful play. Now he'll settle things down, play it back to Dunn. Dunn will come across field to John Angelo. Sonde with it, has some room to operate. Francis comes up to meet him. He slips and falls and throws a behind the back pass and just throws it away. However, I think he sensed that he was in trouble. Two Columbia players around him. He was down on his knees, and I guess he just wanted to give his team a chance to get back on defense.
Right, and I think he might have lost his composure a little bit, not knowing where his man was on the other side there, that there was no one there. Okay, comes 37, Jim Nelson out in the midfield. Looking to give the ball off to someone.
Sherwood operating to the left of the net. Here's Malnack on the other side. Malnak comes around behind the cage, spins, is double teamed, plays it out in front. It's loose and picked up now by Arkeson. Arkeson is so dangerous when he is allowed to come across midfield as he does there.
Looking to see if he had any shooting scoring opportunity. He found none, and he laid it off to an attackman, number 10.
Here comes Garrett, knocked away nicely from behind by Badwini.
Ambrose missed the first scoop. Usually don't get a second chance. However, Garrett picks the ball up. Excuse me, Stoughton.
Ray Stoughton.
He's there to help out.
One of the few times that Summit has been in the Columbia zone, and what they want to do is make sure they get a good shot out of it.
Okay, they're going to try to change the midfield on the fly here. Matt, something you don't see very often. What they're going to do is send one defenseman off, one midi off at a time, and exchange it with someone else through the penalty box. You can do this like in hockey.
You can see them coming off and on as Holman comes on, takes the flip from Ambrose.
And this is, go ahead.
This is the number 1 midfield group, and this is the dangerous midfield group for Summit. Holman scored the opening goal.
Here we go again with the one-on-one situation. Holman has the ball, starts to his left, wants to come back to his right because that's his strong side.
Badwini watching him. The flick shot just bounces high over the net.
You can get an idea what a ball player was trying to do, Matt, by the fact whether he has one or two hands on the stick. When he has one hand on the stick, chances are he's trying to dodge or lose his man. When he got two, he's either going to pass or to shoot it. And a good defenseman will know this. When he sees two hands on, he should slap that bottom hand. When he has one, he should stay square and try not to let his man run by him. Okay, they're here. They're bringing Matt Holman behind the cage. This is foreign territory. He hopes he has another midi on him.
Here he comes out in front. Shot is blocked by the chest of Mike Tevlin. Tevlin tries to clear it, just plays it up into the Summit zone, but it's picked up there by Ed Sondy.
Now, when a defenseman goes over the line, there have to be an exchange of people. You have to keep 4 on the defense and 3 on the offense. And usually the extra man, the man that stays back, is one of the midfielders.
Peter Donat with 3:15 left to go in the third quarter.
Again, Summit has to set up their isolation situation here, looking to beat the man one-on-one and lay it off if he's double-teamed. Good check by number 25.
That time Garrett just...
Excuse me. Number 25 was Adam Rubin.
Out in front, shot, blocked, but a whistle before the shot.
We have a man in the crease, which you cannot do.
Right, Ray Stoughton, number 15 in the crease.
You cannot have an offensive man go in the crease. The defensive team can go in there, and they only can stay in there for 4 seconds. On the 4 seconds, you got to be out. Otherwise, the ball goes over to the other team. Sometimes they're inadvertently pushed in there. I use the word loosely, inadvertently.
Columbia has had the best of play, but they have not scored. Neither team has scored in the third quarter. It's still 5-4 as it was at halftime.
That was a very good part of the mistake to allow them to have an extra timeout in this ball game because the conditions are very humid.
This is Brett Jenks, a sophomore. Sherwood plays it back for Francis, but Bianchi has it. Knocked away at midfield. Still loose, picked up by DeSico. DeSico goes to Bianchi. Bianchi is hit by Bill Garrett. And Garrett will step off. Here it is, and you can see. You won't hear the whistle.
Okay, here we go. Pass is laid off into the midfield. Throws to number 47. He misses the pass. And we miss with a cross check.
So a minute penalty to be served by Summit. And Columbia, with the man advantage, has a chance to tie things up here at 5 apiece.
You cannot, Matt, you cannot hit your man with your hands spread apart with your stick, and you cannot hit behind. In football, that's a clipping penalty. In lacrosse, that's a penalty also.
So let's see what Columbia does with the man advantage. Jim Nelson. For Adam Rubin, behind the net from Malnak.
We haven't seen a man-up situation too often in this ball game.
Nelson with the low shot, stopped by Dunn. It got past him, and it's picked up by John Angelo. Angelo plays it for Dunn. Dunn with the long clear.
Excellent pass by James Dunn out to the midfield.
Stu Cap.
Now they want to waste a little time
Arkeson
here to try to use some of the time up on the clock, or get the ball in the box area.
Here's Sandy. Sandy will use up a lot of the time as he comes rushing into the offensive zone.
And that means the man in the penalty box can come in the ball game.
And he does.
He's going to lay the ball off to one of the midfielders and get back over the line.
Even up.
And the man-up situation has now been broken.
And the Summit fans give the Hilltoppers a round of applause. We saw the last time during that penalty situation, Stu Camp coming on with an extra long stick.
Right, now that's one of the new trends in lacrosse the last couple of years.
Oh, here's a goal by Dan Ambrose. We'll talk about it in just a second, Homer, but a goal by Dan Ambrose, and it is 6-4. And to me, this is a critical goal.
Yes, sir, I think it is too. Here he comes. He starts to his right, steps to his right, comes to his left very hard, fires a shot down, low, bounces up inside the cage.
For Ambrose, his second goal of the game, and a timeout is called. Homer, let's talk about how important that goal was. Here it is, Columbia dominating action in the third quarter. They've got a man advantage late in the third quarter. It's broken by Summit. Moments after they end that man-up situation, Summit scores and now takes a 2-goal lead. And Columbia's got to start questioning just what they have to do to win.
Excellent point, Matt. That's an excellent point there. The fact that they were getting all the shots and all the things and percentages in their favor, and somehow or another, that's why you can't always rely on the percentages. Here, Summit had one shot on goal, and boom, they score. Here, Columbia has had 3 or 4, maybe 5 shots on goal and didn't score 1. But in the long run, again, this game's still not over.
Plenty of time left.
And Columbia will come back, but it's got to be disheartening at this time.
While we have some time, let's go back to that situation where the extra long stick was brought on in the man-down situation. Normally 3 long sticks for the defenders. Everyone else has shorter sticks. But when they were down a man, somebody brought on Stu Cap, and they had 4 long sticks out on the field.
Okay, the purpose of the long sticks is that's to prevent your man from dodging you. You can. That means there's more distance in between the man and the ball, the defenseman and the ball. That means that he's got to get inside that stick before his dodge can be effective. If he starts his dodge too far up, then the defenseman all he has to do is move his feet, and he'll be in an excellent position. And this is one of the new trends in lacrosse in the last 3 or 4 years that most teams, especially on the college level, some of the high school kids may not have the strength to handle or the coordination to handle those long sticks. But again, the training is being brought down, and the idea still works in many cases. As
we look at Bob Curcio, a reminder that upcoming on TV3, we will once again bring you the North-South All-Star Baseball game, our annual trip down to Clark Field in Princeton. We'll show both games of the doubleheader, beginning with North Jersey Section 1 against North Jersey Section 2, Sunday the 19th at 12:30, followed up with the championship round. We'll show the first game, North 1, North 2, at 9 o'clock on Monday evening, the championship game on the 21st at 9:30, and then the following Thursday, which you don't see there on your screen, the following Thursday we will bring you both games. It's a lot of baseball action still coming your way over TV3, but a lot of lacrosse action still before us. 1:10 left to go in the third quarter, and here's a break for Summit, leading 6-4. Little flip taken by Chisholm, but it was handled easily by Tevlin.
The idea was there. There was a man open, but he had lost his whereabouts when he did his roll dodge there, and he flipped it into the goal and stood off to the man who he had saw open.
Tevlin goes across to Janowski. Janowski making a nice play to catch it. Here's Bianchi for Francis.
Stick handling.
Good work by Columbia as they look to narrow the 2-goal deficit. Francis spinning away from Ambrose, puts a shot on goal. Leg saved by Dunn. I don't think he knew where it was. Picked up by Fiore. Plays it for Sherwood, and he throws it a little too far for Fiore. And it'll be picked up by Bruce DeMeo once it crosses the far sideline. And Summit will have it with 24 seconds to go in the third quarter.
Matt, also knowing that lacrosse is a scientific sport also, you find that the goalie there didn't see the ball. But again, he knows what the percentages are, and many times that's what happened. They don't know where the ball is, but the percentage says where the ball is going to be. And they play the percentages, and then they are there. And that's where the science comes in.
6-4 advantage, just 1 goal scored here in the third quarter. But that was by Dan Ambrose, and it gives his team a 6-4 lead. Ball bounces off the ground, but it's picked up by Arkeson. Arkeson loses it. However, Garrett will have it. Garrett with a break. In front for Stoughton, and it's a 3-goal advantage.
Summit will not be denied.
And that comes with just 4 seconds to play in the third quarter.
Okay, here comes Arkeson. I'm very impressed with him. Number 41. He brings the ball over the midfield line. Lays the ball off man wide open on the crease. Where his defender was, I don't know. The goalie was one-on-one. If that's close range, there's no way he's going to make that save. Only by luck. That's where his camping was so scientific at that point.
Bill Garrett gets the assist. Garrett now with 2 goals and assist this afternoon, and he's been the big story for Stoughton. That's his first score of the game. That's his 48th of the year.
And again, he's being in the right place at the right time. Nobody had him. He had good composure and fired it in.
That's with just 4 seconds to play, and the whistle blows to end play in the 3rd quarter, and Summit weathering the Columbia storm. And in fact,
.6:30, 12 o'clock,
5 o'clock,
7:30.
It's on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. CNN Headline News, the perfect news for your busy schedule.
This is CNN Headline News. You're in tune with the world.
Get the major international and national news headlines immediately. Instant coverage of what's happening around the world. The latest in sports, people, and places. The weather, features. Get the whole world of news in a fast-paced 30 minutes, 24 hours a day. It's immediate, it's complete. The perfect news for your busy schedule. Don't wait until 5, 6, or 7 for the evening news. Get the news instantly. Turn to CNN Headline News. It's on right now.
.7-4 is our score as we are about to begin play in the 4th and final quarter of action. And there you see 2-0 advantage for Summit in that 3rd quarter in scoring, Homer. And that's unusual because Columbia had a lot of shots on goal, but they could not put it in the net.
That's very good, Matt. I've been talking about percentages and things like that, but I'm saying to you that Summit is not playing the percentages. They're taking 3 shots, and 3 shots are going in. Summit is taking 5, 10 shots, and haven't scored 1. But again, I question whether this can hold true for this last quarter now.
Well, there's still 10 minutes to play. James Dunn has played a whale of a game in goal for the Summit Hilltoppers.
This game, again, is very reminiscent of the one played May 28th down at Rutgers. And the exact same thing happened.
Here's Holman with it. Crosses midfield. I don't know the way Summit is playing, if Columbia really can afford to give a goal up, because Summit seems to be playing the type of game where they're not playing a strong game. They're giving up some shots, as we mentioned, but they seem to be playing a blessed game.
Good point there, man.
As you mentioned, the percentages are not quite what they should be.
Now, here what Summit would need to do, they don't really need another goal right off right now. They can just kind of hold the ball down and use a little bit of the clock, pass and catch, man cut through, this type of thing, be patient, and then get their shots and score and work at it from that point, where Summit's going to have, Columbia's going to have to start pressing.
Scott Martin with the shot, but a nice save made by Mike Tevlin. Tevlin tries to clear for Badwini, but the loose ball is picked up by Scott Martin. Martin now has trouble handling it and is finally scooped up by Pat Tevlin. Tevlin plays it ahead for Wenzel. It's loose. No one knows where it is. And finally, Wenzel comes away with it. Nice flip to Badwini. Here comes Columbia, trailing by 3 here in the 4th quarter. Badwini with the nice spin, has a shot, takes it, and puts it home. Chris Badwini.
Okay, here we come. Badwini gives a roll dodge to his left. Fires left-handed on the ground and into the cage. Many times a shot from way out front should be placed on the ground. You'll find out that when you're playing percentages of the ball bouncing up and being erratic. You don't want to try to blow that one by the goalies, because all he has to do is stand in with the stick, make the save.
So it's 7-5. Columbia has scored early here, 8:36 remaining. And don't go away.
And Columbia can control his face-off. They'll be right back.
But the face-off is controlled by Summit.
Looked like it was on the head, but the referee saw it as a brush.
John Angelo will take his time, plays it for Dunn. Summit has to be careful. As much as they want to waste time, they don't want to waste time and get away from the momentum that they have.
Excellent point.
They want to press it a little bit, but take their time and make sure they get the good shot. Don't take unnecessary chances.
It's being overplayed.
Garrett, side of the cage, watched by DeSico.
He's an excellent defensive. Look at him move his stick, moves his feet. Checks, checks.
Penalty, delayed call, and a shot way high and wide taken by Steve Bradle.
Okay, we have a holding call on number 55. 30 seconds. You cannot wrap your stick around a player and prevent him from going where he wants to go. That's a holding call.
And it was a pretty obvious penalty called against Mark DeSico. No questioning that call. So let's see what Summit can do with the 32nd man advantage. Just a couple of penalties. This has been a tough game, as Lacrosse is, but it has not been a vicious game.
Excellent point. Okay, now Summit's going to try to move the ball around. Stick handle. Try to use the whole 30 seconds and make it pay off with a score.
Here's Krupka, the deflection, as Tevlin came out of the cage, and he also had some help there from John Janowski.
Now, the defense don't want to give up a dodge at this time. Make them pass, but do not let a man get dodged. Because of that situation, then it's 2 men down.
Garrett almost throws it away. Nice play made by Krupka. Here's Holman, just outside the box. Flips it to the side, and a nice save off the shot by Bill Garrett. Mike Tevlin came up big there, lost it high, and now we get a flag, and a penalty will be called. And the call is against Ray Stoughton. And a 1-minute penalty is assessed against Ray Stoughton.
A late hit. Now the ball's going over to Summit. They'll get an automatic clear. However, Columbia Steel 1 man short. And once they get the ball over the line, they can bring the other man in to go with their man-up situation.
7 minutes showing on the clock, left to play in regulation. 7-5 advantage for Summit against the Columbia Cougars on just a beautiful afternoon. A little warm, but I think if you ask most athletes, they like this kind of weather.
Yes, they feel like the motor's really running when you're sweating and really running, working to precision.
Here's Brian Malnack. Now Nelson flips it back for Sherwood. The shot and a goal. We had a perfect position to see that goal, and it looked like he had a little curve on it, getting right around Dunn.
Yes, it did. It looked like a screwball from the right-hand side. It came back, bent to the left, and bent back to the right.
Sherwood scores again.
Here we go. Dave Sherwood. The pass is off to the right. He feeds it over to Sherwood, who takes his place and whips it right past the goalie on the goalie's right-hand side. Fantastic shot. I haven't spoken to Dave Sherwood, but I think he likes that spot over there. The number of goals
he has
I've seen
camped
score
there.
from there.
He has camped out there. He owns that area. The assist to Jim Nelson, and it is now 7-6, and things have tightened up. 4th goal of the game for Dave Sherwood. And here comes Columbia again. Bianchi. By the way, that was a power play goal.
Yes,
Jenks
it was.
goes to Malnack.
He faked the face dodge.
And there's a goal. I didn't see it, but I think it went off of Dunn. A pass attempt was made by Brian Malnack. He was looking for Sherwood, but it bounced off James Dunn's back into the goal.
Okay, here's the replay. He drives hard to his right. He hit off his stick. The goalie had his stick in the right place. However, it's deflected off his stick into the net. And they count just as much.
17 seconds after Dave Sherwood scores, Brian Malnack ties things up, and a timeout is called by the Summit Hilltoppers. Homer, we said all along, this game is not over because there's a lot of time left. We said it back in the first period. We said it when Summit took the 5-2 lead. And here we are tied with 6:28 left to play, and we're set up for quite a finish.
Yes, we are, Matt. 7-7 is anybody's ball game. Again, not to put anything down on Summit. Columbia, they're showing their tradition of not giving up until the game is over. And they have to, the momentum is back on their side.
The Columbia fans supporting their team, but now the Summit fans rise and cheer their team.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we had one fantastic game out here, one fantastic day. You ought to see the people out here today. And they're all into this ball game. Good crowd, two fine teams.
You can see the far side stands filled, and the near side stands, which you don't see as often, also crowded just a bit. Here is a look at the score by quarters, and 3 goals by Columbia here in the 4th, and the Cougars have knotted things up.
Okay, here's the face-off. It's a very important part of the ball game. Columbia can come up with this ball right now. The momentum will definitely be in their corner. Steal, no possession been given.
And now it is picked up by Scott Chisholm. He loses it. Played ahead.
They gave the possession, but now the ball belongs to Summit.
Summit has it. Dan Ambrose plays it across on the bounce for Steve Bradle. And now, I think, well, Summit was going to make a change on the fly, but they decided to call it off.
No, I think he's going over to talk to his coach to find out what's going on. Okay, the coach gave him some last-minute instruction. Here's Stoughton out in the midfield, which you usually don't find an attackman that far out.
Dan Ambrose with it. Tim
Fine
Francis,
athlete, number 12.
We'll watch him. Tries to spin away from Francis. Ambrose still with it. Chisholm spins away, flips it in front, loose in front, and is picked up by DeSico. DeSico on a break. 5:24 left to play in the 4th quarter.
Columbia's leader on defense.
And his pass for Malnack goes just wide. Malnack couldn't come back for it as it was behind him.
And he lost his footing, which didn't help any either, man.
So Summit will have it as the clock stops with 5:15 to play. It was a 10-8 victory for Summit. The only other time this season these clubs have met, that was in the coaches' final a couple of weeks ago at Rutgers in the preliminary to the NCAA game. It was a game in which it was a back-and-forth affair similar to this one. Columbia led 8-6 at one point. Summit scored the last 4 goals to win it. Here, Columbia has come from behind to knot things up at 7 with 5 minutes even to play.
Okay, I think they're going to go to Holman. They're going to try to get him isolated one-on-one. He's trying to get loose from his man right now. And he does.
And
okay.
he has it.
They have him isolated out in the midfield. Now, the Columbia man should loosen up because he has no real help.
Holman gets around his man, plays it in front, loose ball, and is picked up by Tevlin. Mike Tevlin with the clear. Nice pass ahead. Badwini with a beautiful underhand flip for Sherwood. Sherwood is oh so dangerous. Nice pass by Sherwood from Malnack. Malnack's shot goes wide. The chase is on. Who will be closer? It'll be Columbia's ball as Sherwood wins the race. 4:22 to play.
It was an excellent roll dodge by Mike Fiore, number 39 for Columbia on that series of plays. Again, Dave Sherwood was hustling at the end there, and that's why he's got the ball. He's isolated over here in the corner, ready to put the ball in play. He's being played by their top defenseman from Summit, number 41. Arkeson.
Here's Chris Badwini. Tries to find Sherwood. That'll be considered a pass, and so no matter who's closest to it, since it was last touched by a Columbia player, it will be Summit's ball. So Summit possession with 4:10 left. Nail-biting time here at Tatlock, Homer.
Yes, it is.
So we take a look at Ed Sondy, one of the captains.
I think the crowd is loving every minute of it.
Ooh, bad pass by Sondy. He was looking for Devin Arkeson. And now Columbia has it. That's a break you don't want to give the other team when you're tied this close to the finish.
Okay, now Summit's going to have to play the tough defense. Expression go, pick up their lunch pail and go to work.
Malnack behind the cage goes to Sherwood. Sherwood watched by Arkeson.
Arkeson moving the sticks, trying to keep Sherwood off balance.
This is Bianchi for Tim Francis. Francis gets around his man, takes a shot, a save is made. We get a whistle, though, out in front. Didn't catch the call, but whatever it is, the ball will go over to Summit. So with 3:46 left, Summit will have an opportunity to put the ball on offense. Tied at 7.
Okay. Summit's getting a second chance here. They threw the ball away last time. This time they're going to try to make it through correction.
Here's Arkeson. Plays it for Mark Felix. Down the sideline for Garrett. Garrett has some room and some time. 3:26 to play.
Defenseman's giving him plenty of room.
And now a timeout is called by Summit. So Summit calls it second timeout. Remember, at the start of the second half, we told you the officials are giving an extra timeout to each team because of the hot weather today. So Summit will have one more. I believe Columbia's just called one in the second half, so they have 2 available to them.
And both coaches are using them wisely. Set up their strategy for the last few minutes of the ball game.
A reminder that upcoming on TV3 is that All-Star baseball game from Clark Field at Princeton. Those are the times you can catch all the action. The best senior ball players in the state in action. State is broken up athletically into 4 sections. North Jersey sections 1 and 2, Central Jersey and South Jersey, and so they put some regional pride on the line as TV3 Sports brings you the best in scholastic action. A reminder that next Friday, that's June 17th, at Sprague Field in Montclair, at Montclair State College, it will be the 5th annual Gil Gibbs Memorial All-Star Lacrosse game, North versus South. And the rain date is June 18th. Of course, everyone's praying that the weather cooperates on June 17th at 8 o'clock, Sprague Field at Montclair State. The 5th annual Gil Gibbs Memorial All-Star Lacrosse game, and there will be several performers from both of these clubs on that North squad.
Yes, they will be. Arkansas for Summit for one, and Dave Sherwood for Columbia is another. This game is set up for those teams, for those players who are graduating this year.
Tell me, Homer, right now, as we look at the Summit huddle, what's Bruce DeMayo saying? What's he telling this club as they've seen a 3-goal lead evaporate?
Well, what he would like to say is that fellas, get the ball on the offensive end of the field. Let's be patient. We still got plenty of time to win this ball game. Everybody suck it up. Yes, we know it's hot out here, but it's hot out here for the other team, too. So let's not use that as an excuse for why we're not going to take this ball game out of here.
On the other hand, what is Bob Curcio saying?
Curcio's saying to them that, hey, we're here. We're where we want to be right now. We've asked for a second chance, and here is our second chance. What are we going to do with it? Again, whether let's not use that as an excuse why we don't take it. The ball game's up for grabs. It's going to boil down to who wants the game the most.
Remember that Summit was in possession, of course, when they called that timeout, so they will have it. Tied at 7, 3:24 to play. Matt Holman puts it into play.
Okay, here we go with Matt Holman, number 32, setting up an isolation.
Gets around his man, has some room. It's knocked away in front by DeSico. And Summit will still maintain possession as it goes across the sideline.
Again, they're going to try to get the ball to Holman.
I'm sure during that timeout, Bruce DeMayo was outlining a play or two for Holman. That time, Holman did get free, but DeSico came away nicely to block the pass or shot.
The option that Holman has is try to beat your man, if you can. If there's a double team, come lay the ball off to whoever beats you with a double team.
Holman's man slips and falls. The shot bounces wide, but Summit will maintain possession.
Now, what happened there, Matt, is that Holman went with a right-handed shot. He had very little angle with a right-handed shot. If he had gone left-handed, he would have found more. There it is. Starts right. His man falls down. He's shooting right-handed, made a very difficult shot. If he had a left-hander, he has a left hand, but he decided not to use it that time.
Ray Stoughton has it behind the goal with 2:44 to play in regulation. Loses it. Kicks it ahead. Now picks it up and plays it back for Mike Krupka. Stoughton almost lost possession.
This young man here, Mike Krupka, has been the man of the hour for Summit in the last 3 or 4 ball games.
Plays it back for Holman. Holman's watched by Wenzel. Holman takes a quick look at the clock, which shows 2:22 to play. Tied at 7. State Lacrosse Championship on the line between Summit and Columbia. Matt Laughlin and Homer Robinson here for TV3. We hope you're enjoying as much as we are. Holman loses it. He'll have enough speed to pick it up and does. He is crunched, and we get a whistle. Interference was called against Mike Krupka, and so Columbia will have it with 2:07 to play, and that's a break for the Cougars.
Yes, it is, Matt. You know also that in lacrosse, Holman, I can keep on mentioning that he goes right-handed. You find lacrosse players out there, this is why you got to be able to go left-handed too. A good defenseman will pick that up, and knowing that his strong side is his right side, and you're overplaying to that side and make you come back to your weak side. And if you're really a dynamite player, you got to be able to go both ways. And your defenseman has to play your head up.
Some substitutions coming on the field. That's why we have the delay right now before action resumes. And now the whistle blows and we begin play, and the clock continues to wind down as we have 2 minutes even to play in the fourth quarter. 7-7 tie. Next goal very easily could win it. We're that close to the end of the ball game.
It's going to be one of those heartbreak hotel games. Somebody's going to go home with their heart broken because they came so close.
This is where Sherwood likes to operate. Watched by Sandy. Back for Brent Jakes. Jenks, a sophomore, called up from the junior varsity at the end of the season. Fiore plays it behind the net for Malnack. 1.5 minutes left to play. Here's Sherwood. Loses it. It'll roll near midfield. As soon as it crosses it, you'll see the players go after it. Garrett had it, just wanted to play it back, but it's picked up by Janowski. Janowski with a little flip ahead for Sherwood. Here's a break for Columbia. Watch out, Sherwood's dangerous. Malnack behind the net in front, and is picked up and cleared away by Peter Donat with 1.10 minutes left.
They had a give and go there.
And now Dunn loses it as the pass was made back. Dunn couldn't control it. 1.05 minutes remains, and Columbia has the possession, but they'll call a timeout first.
Columbia's getting the breaks. The ball is staying on the offensive end of the field, and the game's going to be won on the offensive end of the field. You got to score on the offense. The ball's down here. Summit's going to have to go about 70 yards to get a goal, and they can't afford it at this time to leave that ball at this end of the field. They're planning on winning this game.
In effect, Homer, the way the game is situated right now, tied at 7 apiece with just 1.05 minutes left, we're almost in sudden death. The next goal, in all likelihood, will win it. Of course, we have seen a lot of goals scored quickly after a previous goal scored, so that's not to say that 2 goals can't be scored, but I would think that with the momentum the team would get from scoring the goal and the emotional letdown from giving up the goal the team that would give up a goal would have, I think you could safely say the next goal is the winner.
I would say that too, Matt. And you'll find out right now that we're talking about the 2 actions between the percentages. Now, if Columbia keeps on shooting this ball at the goal, there's no doubt that Dunn can't stop everything, and it's not his fault. It's just the fact that they're shooting and shooting and shooting over and over again that he's got to let one go in. And that's all you need right now is one. Whereas Summit is only getting that 1 or 2 shots, and that's a high percentage to make 50-50, and especially in lacrosse. And that's you're asking too much out of your team to make 1 out of 1 or 1 out of 2. You make 1 out of 10, it's easy to make.
We saw Bob Curcio talking with Chris Badwini. Bob Curcio has a great record, 116 wins and just 33 losses in his 9th year at the helm of the Columbia Cougars. Clock begins to wind down. 1 minute left to play. Columbia will take its time and work for perhaps just the 1 shot. Ken Wenzel.
Behind the net.
Watched by Steve Bradle.
You have a defenseman playing, you have a midi playing a midi on him behind the cage, which is foreign territory for him. The defenseman's laying off and giving plenty of room so he doesn't get dodged. He's hoping that he'll make a pass.
Here's Sherwood.
And this is who they want to have the ball right now.
He's watched by Arkeson. Tries to get around Arkeson with 30 seconds left.
Okay, we have Sherwood isolated a midfielder. The defenseman usually doesn't play out here either. And they're going to try to take him.
Sherwood flips it behind the net and throws it too high over the stick of Mike Fiore. And with 18 seconds left, Summit will have it. And a timeout called, the last timeout permitted here in the second half, called by Summit. And they want to set things up for the last 18 seconds. Can't fault the game plan there. If I was Bob Curcio, I'd want the ball on the stick of Dave Sherwood myself. Their outstanding scorer and just a tremendous player in the last 3 years.
Very good idea. Again, those type of things happen. Nothing to be ashamed of. He gave it his best shot. Again, he'll have another chance before this game is over. We still have 18 seconds left on the clock. And if no one scores, we'll go into overtime.
18 seconds remaining. What a game. Just to recap, Matt Holman got Summit on the board first. Dave Sherwood countered shortly thereafter. And then we went back and forth in the first period until Summit took a 3-2 lead after 1 quarter of action. In the second quarter, Summit scored 2 quick goals to lead 5-2, but Columbia scored the last 2 to make it 5-4. Columbia dominated action in the third quarter, but couldn't score. Summit at the end put 2 goals past Mike Tevlin to make it 7-4. However, here in the fourth quarter, at the 8:36 mark, Chris Badwini scored, making it 7-5. 6:45 mark, it was Dave Sherwood on an assist to Jim Nelson, making it 7-6. And then just 17 seconds later, Brian Malnack, unassisted, made it 7-7. That's our score. 18 seconds left to play. Summit has it. That's James Dunn with it. One thing he doesn't want is a giveaway.
Right. And right now, this is a very important, clear.
Like that one right there. There's the giveaway.
That's what I was just getting ready to allude to, that it was a very important clear for Summit. And they did not clear the ball, and the ball goes over to Columbia.
Dunn just threw it away. I don't believe he meant it. Quite obviously he didn't, but it just scooted way too high and out of bounds, and just 3 seconds ticked off the clock. So 15 seconds remain. Columbia calls a timeout. And here's the situation Columbia wants. They'll have the last shot.
2 fine players, James Dunn, Dave Sherwood, made errors here at the last part of the game here. Neither one of them have anything to be ashamed of. They gave their best shot, and they're still giving it the best shot. And both of them being competitors that they are, they'll be back, and they're going to play tough right until the end here. And again, the game's still not over.
And if we end regulation tied at 7, we will go to sudden death.
Right now, Summit's going to have to pick up their lunch pail and really play tough right here. You don't want to make a penalty, but they can't afford to get dodged. Columbia's going to have to stick can, a pass and catch, move the ball around, and hope they can find the open man and put the shot on cage.
And if I were a betting man, I'd say Dave Sherwood might be called on to take that last shot.
And that shows you what happens if you hang in there, and then he has hung in there, and you'll find out right now, chances are he might get a second chance to maybe even atone for that there bad pass before.
He has scored 4 of the 7 goals.
Technical difficulties have temporarily interrupted this program. Please stand by. We'll rejoin the program shortly.
Three-minute period of regulation. We had technical difficulties. We are about to start the second period of overtime, and it is sudden death overtime, a 3-minute period, and a face-off where the play ended at the end of the first regulation. And here comes Columbia, tied at 7. Sudden death. Whoever scores goes home with the championship. Francis almost had a break, but it went off the edge of his stick. Chases on and goes across the line. It was last touched by Brian Malnack. Homer, this is really what you could have expected from these two teams.
It's very true, Matt, and it's right down to Heartbreak Hotel time, and it's also down to who's going to pay the price of being a winner. There's many excuses why not to take this ball game. I'm tired. I would like to quit. I like to sit down. But I don't think either one of these teams wants to think about that right now.
Fans ringed around Tatlock Field, and the stands are pretty well filled, too. Several thousand people out on a beautiful Saturday afternoon to see the two best teams in the state battle it out for number 1. And as Howie Anderson said at halftime, that's the way it should be. Number 1 and number 2, you'd like to come out for the championship each and every time. And that's the way it's worked out here. Summit with the break. Ahead for Arkeson. Has some trouble handling it. Now picks it up. With the long stick, he'll have trouble controlling it, so he wants to flip it off quickly and does. Gets it off to Peter Donat. Donat gets away from his man. Here he is. He's got a chance, and it's knocked away. I believe it was John Janowski who got in front of Mike Tevlin.
Excellent save.
Well, it could have easily been Pat Tevlin because he's signaling to himself that nice play, Pat. Whatever it was a great defensive play.
The point was that both of them were in there in the goalie's way, and if they weren't going to do the job, they had no business there. But since they were doing the job, it was all right.
And this time, Pat Tevlin cannot catch up to it.
And they're going to give the ball to Matt Holman. Again, I think he's going to try to go one-on-one, going to his right side, sitting up by dodging to his left.
A minute 57 left to play in the second overtime period. And now a timeout called by the Columbia Cougars. What a game.
Yes, it is. A fantastic ball game.
Bob Curcio speaking with the officials. Don't know exactly what he's complaining about, but he's upset about something.
I'm not sure either, Matt.
Our officials today, Mike Corcoran, Phil DiDomenico, and John Gorman. Those three on the field. Barry Rosenberg, the timer today. So we take a look at the Columbia crowd. In that one period of overtime, which, because of the technical difficulties, we could not bring you, Summit had a number of chances, but the Columbia defense came up big.
Yes, they did, Matt, and I think that, again, Columbia was scoring, getting their shots on goal, and that's what you got to do at this stage of the game. Get your shots, get your shots.
Until somebody scores, I believe we will just continue to play 3-minute sudden death periods.
Very true.
This is the second. There's a minute 57 left to play. We are tied at 7. The big scorers on the day, of course, Dave Sherwood has scored 4 goals for his club. And he's been the story this afternoon. Meanwhile, for Summit, they've received a pretty good performance from Bill Garrett. Garrett has 2 goals and assists.
They're going to go to Matt Holman this time, Matt. I hate to keep on bringing his name out because he was the key ball player against Columbia down at Rutgers, and they're going to go to him this time, too. He's a fine athlete, got good speed, good size, and they're going to try to isolate him one-on-one. And if he can't beat his man, they're going to look for the double team. Columbia's probably going to double team wherever they can, and he's going to try to find where that slide came from and try to hit the open man.
You can see the back of Holman's jersey, darker than his sleeves, drenched with perspiration. He's watched by Francis. Tries to flip it for Donat. Loose in front of the goal.
Ground ball is a key to ball game.
Picked up by Scott Martin, so Summit maintains possession with a minute 40 to play.
So look across the field. Holman's give the ball off to somebody else because he's tired. Number 24 is taking the ball. Peter Donat.
Well, Holman's been out for the entire overtime periods. Here's Donat, still with it, watched by Bianchi. With a minute 21 to play. Second overtime. Sudden death overtime. Bill Garrett, watched by DeSico. Martin cutting in front, but the pass was not there as Garrett still has it behind the cage. Tries to work his way in front, bumped by DeSico, and now loses it. However, Garrett, with a burst of speed, or excuse me, Krupka will pick it up. Mike Krupka tries to find a cutting Donat, can't get it, but however, Summit's Scott Martin picks it up. He has a break now. A little flip to Donat. Donat shoots, a score!
Okay, here we come with the winning goal by Peter Donat, number 24. He forces hard to his right. He loses his man right. He has a step on him. Nobody to stop him, to pick him up. The goalie never saw it. It was right at waist high. But right.
And the Summit fans run out onto the field and mob the victorious Hilltoppers. They have captured the 1983 Lacrosse Championship. They won it in '81. Last year, it was Columbia's turn. This year, Summit returns to the summit of high school lacrosse in the state of New Jersey. Homer, it's hard to say that any team should have lost this game. You want to crown a champion, and rightfully, Summit should be rewarded. But Columbia has a fine season that they can look back on, but they come up short by a goal in a gutty performance in the final, losing 8-7. Someone's got to win, someone's got to lose, but these two teams were evenly matched.
Very true, Matt. Everything you brought out there, I'd say it double time. It's just a shame, and as I guess what I kept alluding to, that a heartbreak. Columbia lost the ball game, but however, they had nothing to be ashamed of. One fantastic game.
Well, why don't we take a short break and talk to some of the victorious Summit Hilltoppers? So we'll be back after this.
Is there such a place as Our present-day myth that extremely old people live in primitive mountainous regions in Ecuador, Russia, and Pakistan comes indirectly from ancient Greek legends. Some important lifestyle patterns are common to these regions. Diets are low in calories and animal fats. There's a high level of physical activity and fitness. Obesity is very rare. There's only moderate alcohol and tobacco use. And very important, there's no retirement in these communities, so elderly people remain active. However, a study of the village of Vilcabamba in Ecuador showed that after about age 70, just about everyone exaggerated his or her age. The study found none of the 23 individuals claiming to be over 100 years old was actually that old. And none of those claiming to be between 90 and 100 was really over 90. Though it's possible some hidden society may have found the secret of long life, scientific investigations have failed so far to confirm the existence of a Shangri-La. But the vigorous lifestyles and the vigorous old age common in these areas may have an important message for us.
Health Watch is a public information production of Blue Shield of New Jersey.
Well, in double overtime, the Summit Hilltoppers come away with the state lacrosse championship in a thrilling game, to say the least. The final score, 8-7. We have three of the players and head coach Bruce DeMeo with us. First, we'll speak with the goalie, James Dunn. And James, congratulations on your performance. You were the goalie in your sophomore season when the team won the championship in 1981. You win it again in your senior year. Can you compare the two?
You compare the two because they're victories in the state championships, but you really can't compare them right now. It's just so overwhelming right now. I really can't compare.
In that third quarter, Columbia had the advantage through the first 8 or 9 minutes. You wound up scoring 2 goals near the end, which extended your lead. What was going through your mind as they continued to pepper you with shots?
Well, all I really have to think about is that ball. I don't have to really think about who's shooting or who's sliding, really. You know, it's when it's a shot, I just have to attack it and try and stop it.
How do you prepare yourself for overtime, sudden death overtime?
It's nerve-wracking. It's really nerve-wracking. You just have to go out there and, you know, you got a job and you just got to go do it.
All right, well, congratulations on your performance and good luck in college. James Dunn, who for 3 years was the goaltender for this Summit club, and now Bill Garrett, who scored 2 goals and had an assist today. Bill, you got to feel pretty good at this moment.
Very good, very good.
What were the thoughts going in against Columbia?
Well, we beat them last time, and it was real tight the whole way, and we knew it was going to be a one-point ball game. And just the middies had to come up tough because we know they have an outstanding defense, and it was the middies, which Mr. Curcio said in the paper that would be the point of the game, and our middies came through stronger.
You have a 3-goal lead at the end of 3 periods. They score 3 goals to tie it up. What were you thinking as they were coming back and then did tie it up?
I just was praying to James that he would come through strong, which he did, and the rest just came through the way we wanted it to.
Your thoughts on this club? 16-2 you end the season. When you started things back in the early part of the spring, did you think this was a possibility?
Yes, definitely, definitely. Ever since 8th and 9th grade, we've been going undefeated and losing. We haven't lost a game. We never lost to Columbia in 8th or 9th grade either. We just had to come through strong now.
All right, well, congratulations on your performance, 2 goals and assist, and congratulations to the Hilltoppers for the championship.
Thank you very much.
Bill Garrett, who had those 2 goals, and now the man of the hour, the man who came through with the goal in the second overtime to win the game, Peter Donat. Peter, congratulations. Tell us a little bit about that goal.
Well, I found the ball wide open on the side, over on the wing of the cage. Picked it up, looked to feed it first, really couldn't see anybody open. It's just one man to beat, and he sort of lunged towards me. So I took it past him and saw the near side of the cage open and threw it home.
Could you believe it when it went in?
When I saw it go in, I was too ecstatic to believe it, and everybody else was feeling the same way. Just a great feeling.
Now, when you talk to some people, be it a baseball player or a football player, when it gets down near the end, they say, I want the ball, or I want to be up with the man in scoring position. Did you feel at any point during the overtime that you wanted to have the ball because you felt that you could put the ball in the net?
Well, I've always felt that I could put the ball in the net. We have several people that are capable, though. Matt Hallman is a great one-on-one man, and Bill Garrett and the entire attack can always take their man. It just so happened that I had the ball at the right time, and I knew I could do it.
All right, well, congratulations. I'm sure it's something you remember for a very long time.
Thank you.
Peter Donat, who scored the winning goal to give his team the 8-7 victory, and Bruce DeMeo step on in, 1981 state champions, coaches champions this year, the same thing. Can you compare the feelings? How does this team compare to the team in 81?
Well, it's I think James hit it right on the head. You know, they were both victories. We won both the coaches' tournament championship and the state championship, but they're different teams. In 81, we had about 5 or 6 really talented offensive people that could go to the cage, and we played with about 20 people throughout the game, and we didn't have 20 people like we have this year. We're not as talented, say, at 5 positions like we were in 81, but the 20 we put on this year are very solid, very steady, and they're very even as far as their talent goes. So I think it's a better team as far as team play, which is very important in a game like today.
You had 2 3-goal leads, one at 5-2, the other at 7-4. Columbia fights back both times. What were you talking to your team about when you called those timeouts to try and hold some momentum?
Well, after the first, it was 5-2, you know, we scored 3 goals very quickly, and we're very much the same type of club as Columbia. We're very explosive, and you know, the tendency for kids this age, no matter what you tell them, and I did tell them, I said, you know, you have a 5-2 lead. If you lay back now, they're going to come get you. And I think we kind of sat on our laurels there for a time, and they tied it up, and they tied it up again when it was 7-7. The same situation. I think we thought we had it in the bag, and it's difficult for those guys to realize on the field that you know, that the game isn't in the bag, you know, with a team like Columbia. But I think that when it was 7-7, I think that both teams kind of slowed down, started to play real good defense, and then it became a one-shot ball game. And when we went
We were talking, Homer and I, about the contributions of certain players, and certainly the whole team deserves credit for the victory. One person we haven't spoken with here in the postgame, but who deserves a whale of credit, and you used him an awful lot in those 2 overtimes, was Matt Holman. He's got to be a tired young man, but he played a fine ball game.
Well, Matty is a super player, and he surfaced about halfway through the season as an offensive threat. And, you know, Columbia's well aware of the fact that he could go to the cage because in the first game we played him, he scored the goals that won the game late in the ball game. And I really felt today, even though they had a long stick on, they put a midi with a long stick on, I didn't think they could stop him. The only reason he was stopped is because he was dead tired. He played the whole time. But to see, in a game like today, in fact, we had cautioned our kids about this. We're ready to stop Sherwood. We're ready to stop Badwini. They're ready to stop Holman and Stoughton. But the other players like Donad and Ambrose is his first year playing, right? These are the kind of kids you say, well, we don't have to be too careful with those kids because they're not great players. Well, that's why I gave the ball to Donad at the end of the ballgame. He's got very good speed, very good basketball sense. He's a basketball player, and I knew he could score. And the person they had matched up on wasn't quite as good defensively. So that's why we gave him the ball a lot near the end. It was just so happened he scored on a loose ball. But I think we tried to, you know, Matty was tired. Matty was beat. You know, I think he would have hurt us if he had tried to go to the cage because he had no gas left.
All right, well, congratulations on your performance. It was a thrill. I'm sure everyone enjoyed it. 8-7. Enjoy your championship, Bruce.
Thank you very much.
All right, Bruce DeMeo, the coach of the state champion and coaches champion, Summit Hilltoppers. And Homer, why don't you step on in and talk about this ball game? You saw that coaches tournament game. We talked about it. How's this one compare to it?
Very similar, Matt. It was a fantastic game. With the spectators here, they just loved it. Beautiful day, fine crowd. 2 fine teams, fantastic ball game.
And as we talked about it before we came down for the post-game show, it's a shame that one team has to go away with as the loser. Columbia really has nothing to be ashamed of, but it is a shame that in this instance only one team can come away and say they're champs.
Excellent point there, Matt. Columbia, they came this close and had a fine year, nothing to be ashamed of. Again, to keep reiterating that point, because many people feel that you lose a ball game in a game like this here, you got someplace you should not be proud of yourself, but they should be proud. And again, they'll be back next year, and that's what makes their program so tough. Each year they come to play, and you got to beat them before you get here.
Well, as much as as we've been saying, it's a shame that someone has to go away a winner, or a loser. There is a lot to be said for someone coming away as the winner. And Summit showed a lot of guts as Columbia came back. They didn't fold their tents. They just didn't give up as Columbia put that rush on. They held things pretty well in the 2 overtimes. They played very, very well, and it's only fair in the overtime that they should score because they had the better play.
Very good point. Again, this is the second time Summit has played Columbia. They beat them the first time. They beat them twice. There's no doubt in their mind they should be the state champion.
All right, well, that wraps it up. A great day and beautiful sunshine before a large crowd here at Tatlock Field in Summit. The Hilltoppers winning the state championship in 1983, duplicating their feat of 1981 with a victory over Columbia here in double overtime. The final score, 8-7. For Homer Robinson and our entire crew here at TV3, I'm Matt Lockwood. Thanks for joining us. So long from Summit and Tatlock Field.
Thank you.